Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of The Truck Stops Here, brought to you by the NATSO Foundation. Now, here's your host, Amy Toner.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner. You are listening to The Truck Stops Here, the NATSO Foundation's podcast. The NATSO Foundation is the research, education, and public outreach subsidiary of NATSO. This podcast is just one of the many educational tools the foundation creates. Today, I'm so lucky to have Greg Willman, the CEO of Naf Naf Grill. Hey, Greg.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
We're going to talk about Naf Naf. We're going to talk about franchising with truck stops. We're going to talk about food service. We got a lot to talk about. Why don't you just start by telling them about yourself and about Naf Naf Grill?
Well, Naf Naf Grill is a Middle Eastern fast casual concept that was founded in Chicago in 2009. Mm-hmm. Immigrant family moved to Chicago from the Middle East. They had their, kind of family recipes and the recipes they'd grown up eating in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and, kind of in the open air markets. It's really street food. Mm-hmm. Brought that to Chicago, opened the first one in a converted Taco Bell in 2009. Okay. And it was kind of an instant hit. And so we now are charged with that brand and are really excited about the growth opportunities that we're starting to realize for it.
One of the things that you're doing, speaking of growth, is partnering with truck stops and travel centers. What are you guys doing there?
Yeah, really, it's probably as important a relationship as we have currently, mm-hmm. and I can't take any credit for it whatsoever. I give full credit to Love's. They recognized our brand and this opportunity. Based on, I think, some research they did and some feedback they got from their drivers. Okay. And really approached us about, being in business with them in their travel centers. And really it was a little bit out of the blue to us. I mean, It wasn't something that was on our radar. Yeah. But we were, they are, as good as it gets in terms of the way they operate their business. And they've been terrific partners, and they felt very confident about how our brand would be received in their travel centers. And they were right. We've got 3 locations open with them currently. We're working on an additional 2 that should open by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And they seem very happy with the relationship, and we are obviously as well.
Do you think that there's any specific reasons why the partnership works so well?
Well, I think, the business aspects of it have come together very well. They were right about the demand for our type of food in their locations, yeah. on their routes. Mm-hmm. Their drivers are terrific. They engage with us on social media. They thank us for being in certain locations. In other locations, when they stop and we're not there, they let us know that too. So it really stems from the fact that they identified, Love's identified a need within their driver community, yeah. that we've been able to fulfill. So that's, the foundational piece is there, and that's great. Aside from that, mm-hmm. They're just top shelf operators. They're extremely professional. They're nice people. Yeah. I think the hospitality and the vibe that you feel in their locations, their travel center locations, we feel in dealing with them. So we've just tried to be the best partner we can be as they try to expand our business within their system.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like one of the things that we do at NATSO is put on NATSO Connect, our big conference, and I always come back with the same impression. NATSO members are in the hospitality business, and they're just so nice.
We attended this year for the first time. Yeah. In fact, it was the first conference of that type that our brand ever exhibited at. period. Right. NATSO was the first time we ever had a booth anywhere, and got to really, meet a lot of people in the industry and talk to a lot of operators.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It was terrific. Not only were, the agenda from a business perspective was fantastic. Right. I mean, really meaty content, real significant discussions, very informed speakers, very informed operators. It was really a great experience to be there. And we met so many operators, who we got to introduce ourselves to, and they got to learn a little bit about us, and we got to learn about them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have been a nicer group of people, extremely sophisticated, in terms of the businesses they run. These are sizable operations run by very talented people. And it was great. It was just a great experience to be there for the few days we were there.
Awesome. Okay, different topic. For your location, is it mostly drivers that are stopping at it, or is it car traffic? This is sort of a leading question, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much car traffic comes through a truck stop or travel center. And I was wondering if you guys found that too.
Yeah, we're starting to get some learnings around that. The first couple locations that we opened with Love's were pretty remote. They were, so it's predominantly driver traffic.
Okay.
I would suspect in those locations.
Yeah.
The third location we opened was a little more of a had a little more of a local community presence around it, and the next two that we're going to open will have significant community presence around them. I read that, and I don't. I'm implying or inferring. I always use those wrong, but from the conversations we've had with Love's, they have they're very data driven. They have terrific insights into this. So I'm inferring. I guess I would be inferring in this instance that the fact that we're going into locations that have community around them, more robust community around them than the first couple, is indicative that we are drawing that traffic as well, not just the driver traffic. But I don't know what you call it, the pedestrian traffic.
Four-wheel traffic.
Okay, four-wheel traffic, and then kind of the local community traffic around the locations also.
Okay. Is there anything that surprised you about the partnership with Love?
Really, how quickly the uptake of our brand happened. Mm-hmm. We the first location we opened was in Greenup, Illinois, pretty remote. Mm-hmm. I was early as the CEO of the brand. I went to their opening day. I was on property their opening day, and I was a little unsure, right, as to how this was going to get responded to, and where the traffic was going to come from, and they were not. And they were right. So that's been the biggest surprise is, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised by it. They clearly do their homework and clearly know what they're doing, and they had identified this as an opportunity, and it materialized, very, very quickly. I think, exactly as they thought it might.
Well, how smart for you guys to listen when they were saying it. What about like food? Tell me what's going on with food. One question I wanted to ask is, do you consider Naf Naf Grill to be fast casual? Is that right? Yeah,
I think actually we're kind of prototypically fast casual, right? I've been in this space as an operator for 25 years, mostly in fast casual brands, and we have a very Chipotle-esque kind of model. It doesn't mean we're Chipotle. Doesn't mean we're going to be Chipotle. I always, everyone compares themselves, but I'm comparing it from an operating model. It is a old school, prototypical, down the line, see everything in front of you, point and shoot, little of this, little of that. Can I have some of this? Can I do some of that? That's our model. We do fewer things, relatively limited menu. We try to do those things extremely well. We use the same processes and same recipes that Sahar Sander, the founder, opened the first location with. We still build shawarma in every restaurant. We marinate it overnight. We build the shawarma. We put it on the spit in the morning. We start roasting it off. We hand carve it. We fry falafel. We bake pita. And because we're a culinary brand. We're not a heat and serve. We're not an assembly. I mean, we're a scratch cooking kitchen. And so to do it at the quality we want to do it at, we need to, be somewhat limited in how many things we bite off. So, Chipotle, in terms of the operating model, I think Chipotle is a pretty good. A lot of people will say to me after they're in, they go, "Oh, you guys are a Chipotle for Middle Eastern food." I go, "Yeah, that's pretty much what we are."
And do you see any trends? Do you change your menu that often? Like, what are you kind of thinking is like the food trends other than Naf Naf Grill?
There's been a lot of activity in our space, and we've kind of we've morphed both backwards and forward. So when I took over the brand, there was still. The brand originally started as more of a walk up to the counter, place your order, go sit down for 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll bring it out to you. That was kind of the original. Those were the original couple stores, and that was the original menu. As they started to expand, into these fast casual point and shoot models. So one of the first things we had to do was figure out which model we were going to try to grow with, and then what menu adjustments we were going to make, right? So we ended up having to simplify the menu to a certain extent, to do it all, kind of to be fully fast casual going forward. But we also reached back and brought some of the things on the original menu forward into today's environment. Like they had a crispy chicken, they called it chicken schnitzel when they originally introduced it, but a crispy chicken product that we reintroduced. With great success and great fanfare. People were really happy to see that kind of back on the menu after it didn't make the cut from the original concept to kind of the fast casual concept. But we've also pivoted forward. We've added spicy hummus. We've added what we call nafziki, our cucumber sauce. We're just rolling out now. We rolled out last summer a vinaigrette, kind of a dressing, lighter dressing. This summer we're rolling out pomegranate. So a lot of the flavors that are becoming more popular in kind of the Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, Greek space, we're incorporating those flavor profiles into our menu. I don't think anyone in my company will yell at me for saying this, but we're testing meatballs, a Middle Eastern seasoned meatball product that we hope to be rolling as a limited time offer this fall. And so we've been able to play with some of the new flavor profiles that people are becoming more familiar with as they become more familiar with Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, Greek cuisine.
I feel like 1 out of 5 truck stop podcast interviews I do talks about chicken. So I'm not surprised to hear that was a hit. That's so
people can't seem to get enough fried chicken.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so I do have some fun questions, but also I just want to make sure you tell people how they can get a hold of you, but also just what are your plans for the future? What are you guys planning?
Yeah, you can find us, on Instagram and Facebook, and website is nafnafgrill.com. There's lots of good content out there about us. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can text me or call me or whatever. I'm pretty accessible and available. In terms of the plans for the business going forward, we feel very fortunate. Right now that there's a lot of interest in our brand. We've worked really, really hard to try to take, the original concept that was created and, modify it as needed to fit into today's environment a little better.
Yeah.
Particularly more non-traditional locations like travel centers and airports and campuses and those kinds of things. We had a pretty large footprint previously. Had a pretty complicated kitchen previously. I'm an operator by trade. I was a franchisee for 20 plus years in multiple brands at scale. We ran 30, 40 restaurants in a particular concept and maybe a couple geographies. And so we recognized that this had to be done at scale. We had to make it a little simpler. We had to make the footprint a little smaller.
Yeah.
And we had to make it not quite so reliant on skilled labor, right?
Yep.
And so we went to work on that. And look, we had some interest early on that we kind of said, we're not ready yet. You won't be happy with what we deliver to you, and we won't be happy with what we deliver to you. Let us go. We know what we need to address. Let us go address these things. And we spent about a year and a half doing that. Really significant material changes to the operating model without jeopardizing the food quality. Because we are best in class food. I can say that with a straight face. We get awarded best shawarma all the time, best falafel all the time, best pita all the time, like all the time, right? Multiple publications. So I feel pretty confident about the food quality, and we didn't want to put that at risk at all. And so we got that work done, and then came back to the market and said, we're ready for this now. And the response has been really very gratifying. Now some of it, right place, right time. Our category is kind of taking off, and people are getting more familiar with the food in our category and the taste profiles, and that's certainly helpful to us. We don't have to do quite as much education around who we are and what we do. But across, we've started a franchising initiative. There's very good momentum. We've got 10 or 11 franchise groups already involved in our system. We're getting a lot of interest in airports and campus locations that we can now fit into and our operating model works in. And obviously, with the relationship we have with Love's, we now seem to be a little bit more on the radar for the broader travel center market as well.
All right, I'm going to hit you with our fun questions before I let you go. Sounds like you got a lot to do. These are easy. Okay. What's your go-to on the road snack?
My go-to on the road snack, I usually am trying to find something a little lighter, something a little healthier, right? There's a lot of burger, pizza, taco, stuff out there. I'm usually trying to find, a deli sandwich, turkey and Swiss, something like that if I can find it.
Okay. If you're stuck at a truck stop or travel center in a snowstorm, how do you pass the time?
Probably catching up on my email on my phone while I also get a little downtime just, scrolling through social media.
Okay. Do you prefer to ride or drive?
Drive.
Okay. And the last one is, how do you take your truck stop coffee?
I, believe it or not, do not drink coffee. I never have. So I take my truck stop coffee as either an ice cold Diet Coke or an ice cold Diet Mountain Dew.
Believe it or not, I also get that answer a lot. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your interest in our brand, and I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for listening to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. You can find us online at natso.com/podcast. If you have any questions or you want to be a guest, you want to be a speaker at Natso Connect, reach out to me at editor@natso.com. Bye, Greg.
The Truck Stops Here was brought to you by the Natso Foundation, the research, education, and public outreach subsidiary of Natso. The Truck Stops Here is produced by the Natso Foundation in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.